God wanted me to hear today.
Absolutely.
Just truly be open to it.
Absolutely.
And I was like, and we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll get done. Maybe I'll draw closer. Maybe I'll get done. Maybe I won't. But I'm going to try the process. I'm going to do it. And so I did that, and that was 5 years ago. The difference it made in that year, the changes he made in my life and in my heart, my perspective. He answered so many prayers, so many, like minute little prayers. You know, we forget that sometimes. We always think, he's the God of everything. He's grand, he's big, he's majestic. But he's also the God of the minute and small. And we forget sometimes that those little things that we think don't matter, they matter to him. He cares. Little bitty prayers that I just thought were nothing prayers, that within a week he would answer them. And over that year, is like I felt, it was like being in that hospital room again. I felt his presence so much that I'll never deny him. I'll never go against him. I will, for as long as he grants me life and breath on this world, claim that Jesus is King. And so he did. He started working on my perspective, and he healed my perspective. And that's why God is so good, is because he'll take everything from behind you, your past, that all that hurt and all those years of struggle and anger that I had. And it's like, he washes it away, but he also made it to where, hey, this isn't meaningless. There was a point to this.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I think a lot. I love the parable of Jesus and the seed and the four paths, or the four soils. The rock path where the seed falls immediately is taken up. The seed with a little bit of rock, a little bit grows but has no root, it dries up. The seed with a thorn, and the weeds grow through it and smother it out, and then the good soil.
Right.
And I think a lot about that God knows the condition of our hearts. He knows our soul. He knows what we need. And he knew how hardened my heart had become. And he knew I needed a couple of years of real work to be done. And anybody who's ever made like a good garden, you gotta tear it open.
Intentionality.
Yeah, you gotta pull the roots out and the rocks. There's a breaking down and a tearing open, a laying open. Get you where he needs you to get that good seed. And that's what he was doing. I can look back now on all those years and realize that all that hurt and all those tears he was like, no, he's like, I'm getting you where I need you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think a lot of us struggle. A lot of us guys struggle with, we're so caught up in the external achievements that we put on ourselves, expectations, mindsets, the way we react, why we do that, your fault, my fault, nobody's fault, that we forget about the internal change, that transformation of the heart, I've seen a lot of guys, and even myself, we can struggle all we want, and until we finally stop and just say, God, here's my heart. Open heart with palms up. I know when I went through some things in my life, I finally asked God, what do you want me to do? And he just said, whatever I ask you. Whatever I ask. In summing up, what would you tell a young man that is in your position right now? No, that was in your position. What encouragement would you tell him? What would you say?
I'd say it like this: we'll use the parable of the four soils. As I would tell you, take a look at where your heart is. How hardened have you become? Or are there still thorns in your life, or weeds? Is there life trying to get involved, or is your pride or money or whatever trying to suffocate out the word of God and his word? Do inventory of your heart, find out where you are. I promise you, God's probably been letting you know because of struggle and heartache. I was like, but he'll get you there. So realize that, and then let him do the work he needs to. The more I gave away Because even after this, there was still a lot more.
Sure, absolutely.
And I found that every time that I thought, I can't give you any more, I can't go any lower, I can't be broken anymore, he broke me down more. And he realized it's like it needed less of me and more of him. Because the less of me there was, the more he was making decisions, the more he was leading me, the more he was guiding my heart. And that's what I would tell people. Check your heart, look at your soil, find out where you are, let him do the work. And then to finish up on my story, my testimony, because it's not done yet. So we did that. I decided to do that over a year. And then my dad got worse from the aneurysm, the brain surgery, and then they were like, "Hey, we don't think he'll be able to survive a transplant because." Yeah,
I mean, because he was kind of like a guinea pig.
He was.
He was just like, "Hey,
he was.
If y'all want to try, we'll give it a whirl."
That's what they said. They were like,
"Wow,
no one has
up and down emotions."
Because at the time they said no one has ever survived brain surgery and then had a transplant and survived. No one ever had. I don't even know if they'd have attempted it. But he had been so weak and he wasn't going to live much longer that they were like, if you're willing to sign. And by this time, my dad could barely speak, so so we signed. They brought the lawyers in again that we would not sue, and they were very adamant, like he's gonna probably pass away because we have to give him so much blood thinners to take his heart and his organs out, or heart and his liver, that we're pretty sure he's gonna rupture in his brain. He's gonna have a stroke. He's probably gonna pass away. We're like, that's fine. And so we did that, and even then they're like, we don't know if he'll even make it because we still have to wait for a transplant. Some people wait months, some years, and some never get them, and they pass away in the hospital. So we really didn't know what was going to happen. And so we did all that, and he was getting worse, and they didn't give him, but I think like a few weeks left. When I remember talking to the doctors, they're like, he doesn't have much longer. And I was like, okay, I understand. And then they called and said, hey, we got a candidate. It looked promising. I was like, okay. They did the surgery and the transplant, and that was about 5.5, coming up on 6 years now. My dad's alive.
How about that? And also with the trouble that you and Sarah had previously, hoping to get one, now you have 3, right?
Yeah.
2 boys and a little girl, correct?
Yeah, because that was the rest of my testimony was we did that, and then we decided just a few months, we waited till he got out of the hospital, made sure he made it home, and then we're like, hey, we'll take our money now and we'll finally do IVF one more time. And the doctors, more or less, we paid for it all. We got it all the way down to the finish line. And the doctor was like, look, it's not going to work. We apologize. It's not going to happen. I can't have children anymore. And so we were really upset, but we kind of understood. We're grateful for what God had given us with our first son and for what he was doing in my dad's life and my life. So I couldn't be upset.
Wow.
Yeah. And then 2 months later, we got pregnant after all those years. And it was funny because I called my dad and I told him, I said, hey, man. I said, you ain't gonna believe it. He said, you're pregnant. I said, yeah. He said, it's gonna be a boy. And I said, really? What makes you think that? He was just like, God wouldn't have got me through this to not have another grandson. And he was right. It was a boy. And then I mean, our doctors were like, it's a miracle. Like, I shouldn't have been to have another child. It's a blessing. It's great. And then, 2 years later, we had our daughter. And the doctors were like, it's fantastic. They're like, but don't have you. Then it went to, y'all cannot have any more children. Like, it's too dangerous for your wife now. So that's God's got a good situation. Oh, and then I'll tell you like this, and then we were talking about like perspective, healing perspective, and like because Jesus he's a rabbi, he's a good teacher. Is one of the other things he was teaching me was about perspective, and this message I learned only a few years ago was he was teaching me. He was like, Matt, you've been putting your faith in the wrong father.
Wow.
It's because it was right. When something went wrong, I'd go call my dad. Or if something I had a struggle or I just needed a voice to vent to, I went to my dad always. And he was like, your dad is not eternal. He's not perfect. And one day he'll be gone. He's like, but I am eternal. And I am perfect. And I will always be here. And so he taught me that my dad is a valuable resource, but he's the source.
No, very good. He is a valuable resource, but he is the source. Oh, wow.
And then as a father, it was good because then it had double. Because then now as a new father, I realize now my placement is I am my children's resource. My job is to guide them to the real Father.
Wow.
And for them to walk with Him and find Him in.
Unbelievable.
And we already have one. Our 8-year-old was baptized during the spring. Well, he did his water baptism in the summer, but he did his prayer of salvation. So now he already has a connection with his source. So we got 2 more to try to get there, to find that they're their true source. And I'll be a great resource for as long as I'm here.
I tell you, guys, I can assure you, it took us just a few minutes to talk about this. To him sharing his heart with everything that he has experienced, but it takes a while. It takes intentionality. We're in a gym.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, he didn't get up one day in his Red Ryder pajamas all shredded because he looked like, no, it's years of dedication with the machines and the weight and the right diet. And there's highs and there's lows and there's good and there's bad in weightlifting, and life is the same way. I am so thankful that Matt did not continue, and I think a lot of us do this. I know I have. We serve God with one hand. We serve God with one hand, and that's what you were doing for a while. It was like, okay, God, I'll go to church some. Yeah. And God's saying, I love you. I got more for you, and I'll tell you what I'll do. You give me that bag of trash that you got in your other hand that's full of lies. It's not who you are. It's mindsets. It's actions. It's experiences that the enemy has told you that this is all you'll ever amount to be and this is good enough, and it's not. And he didn't do that. You cannot do that. Take that bag of trash, and I want to tell you something. You're going to take that bag of trash and you're going to give it to Jesus, our loving God. And he's going to take that. He's not even going to open it. He's just going to throw it in the pit of hell. Because he has blessings that you cannot imagine. Look at his dad's still alive and he has 3 children. He has 3 children. And I'll tell you something else he has. And you can't see her, but his lovely wife is sitting over here supporting him. And ladies, I would just encourage you. Seek God's face and wisdom and pray over your husband. It may not seem like it's working, but the Lord is out there. He's out ahead of you doing things. Don't quit. Don't give up. For in due season you shall make it unless you quit. That's Galatians 6:9. I would encourage you, ladies, and you will also find that the Lord wants to do something in you as well. And both people benefit. They are such a great couple. It's so good to see them coming across the parking lot. They got the 3 kids, it's that picturesque family. And it almost wasn't. It could have went the other way in a very traumatic, devastating way.
Then mind if I make one last thing? So I don't know if it's just for the fire department. I was an instructor and I was a captain, so I used to teach a lot. So I always like to challenge people and give them a closing thought or sentiment. Something
very well, about. Very good.
So what I want to tell everybody, I want to convey to anybody who watches this or thinks about this, we talked a little bit about the soil, but I want to, because music's powerful. I listen to music a lot. Worship music really gets my heart in the perspective it needs to be. It opens it. It makes it gets emotion going. It's just, it gets my heart and everything lined up. But there's a song, Coat of Many Colors, that I've been listening to for a while from Brandon Lake. And it really struck with me because if you never listen to the song, the base of the song is he's talking about, red is the color blood that you saved me with, and white is the color that you pulled me from the grave, and gold is the crown that's placed on my head. About what he's done for you, what he's doing for you, and the identity he's given you. It's everything he's done. And the idea is that you're wearing his coat. So I really was thinking about that, taking that to heart of when we're walking around, whose coat are you wearing?
Wow.
Because are you wearing Jesus and everything he's done for you? Because people need to see it. Sometimes you need to be reminded that you're wearing it.
Wow, man.
Because it's hard to get. Sometimes life gets tough and we forget. And we have a coat of many colors. Because ultimately what you're doing is you're walking around telling a story. And we said earlier, it's my story. It's actually not my story. It's his story. It's my testimony. And he gave me the privilege to live it and tell it. But it's not my story. It's his story. So when we're wearing that, whose story are you wearing? Whose story are you telling? Because there's somebody out there who desperately needs to hear it, and somebody who maybe needs to see it. So I would challenge anybody, whose coat are you wearing? You're wearing Jesus, you're wearing yourself, pride, money, greed, lust, whatever. Maybe it's time to change your wardrobe. Maybe you used to wear that coat and life got tough and you took it off, put it in your closet. Maybe it's time to get it out.
Oh, wow.
Put it back on. It's time to start telling a new story again. There's somebody who needs to hear it.
I tell you what, enough said. There's no other way to close this. Matt, I am so appreciative of you. Thank you so much. Man, God's got great things for you. And you know that. Young man, listen to what he said. Thank you for tuning in with us today. We look forward to seeing you next time. And remember something. God is more interested in doing something in us than through us. We'll talk to you later.
Amen.